Emancipation is long overdue, so it becomes procrastination, cause freedom is within you. For some reason we think we're free, so we'll never be, because we haven't recognized slavery. You still a slave, look at how you behave, debating on where and when and how and what master gave.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to This Week in Tyranny, a weekly show about authoritarianism, government overreach, and global injustice. I am your host, Conrad Rogas. Today is Saturday, March 18th, and I'll remind you on Saturday, March 18th, that if tyranny is not at your doorstep, that's because there's someone in the street keeping it at bay. And this is episode 15. We're already on episode 15. This is a special episode because this is also the weekend that I am giving my presentation entitled Babyface Criminality. By the time this video comes out, that will be out as well, so I would appreciate it if you check it out. So that's one reason why it's special. There's going to be a lot of cool information in this one, so it's going to be a fun one, and I'll dive right into it. And since it is episode number 15, there's only going to be one time I have episode number 15, so I'm going to use the number 15, and the tarot card that represents this, it fits every single story to a T. So you'll see how it comes about, but card number 15 is the Devil card, and this is the card that represents slavery to me, and other people have this interpretation too. You see the man and the woman in chains, with those chains set lightly upon their necks. That's how it is with us. Those chains that are on our necks are light as well, and we could take them off at any time. And I'll go back to this card and show why these things represent it. First story happened over 7 days ago, but I'll include it in this episode, is the bank collapse, Silicon Valley Bank, right? The bank collapsed, and there's a lot of fears. People are, whoa, is it going to be like 2008 again? Are the banks going to collapse again? Well, I don't know, but I do know that I checked the data on this, and these bank collapses are completely created by the Federal Reserve, and specifically the Federal Reserve's interest rates, which they spike up, and inevitably this causes the banks to kind of recall their long-term bonds that people have, and then the people want to get their money out, and they can't get all the money out because these financial institutions, they're all a house of cards. This whole system is a house of cards, but especially the fractional reserve banking system we have here. Not only in the United States, but I'm talking about the United States specifically because it has the Federal Reserve. So instantly, the government gave help. Other banks helped. I saw today there was another story about some other big financial institution being saved. They saved them. Knight in shining armor. If it's not a bailout, so now somebody else saved them. So everybody's happy about that because it'll avoid the economic downturn. Allegedly, it will. But let's talk about. Let's go back to why the interest rates, the rising interest rates, make this happen. Why raise the interest rates? In response to inflation, to fight inflation. I saw the chairman of whoever is the main guy from the Federal Reserve, he's talking about, yes, we're going to do this to fight inflation. And they're the ones who cause inflation. What is even inflation? It comes from an influx of money. You're printing too much money, or you're giving too much money away. And the Federal Reserve also does that. So they're putting out fires that they're starting. And the people, I guess, don't know enough about the money system, or don't care, or don't think they could change it, because this is it's a joke. It's a joke. It's laughter. It's a ridiculous system. It's a house of cards, like I'm starting to say every week. Who trusts these people? And what makes these financial institutions have any integrity? They clearly don't have integrity, you know? If you borrow money from somebody, they're going to tell you if you can't get it right away, but we all operate under the assumption in this country or any country that we can get our money right away. And if the bank wants to use our money to make some more money on the side and they can't pay us back, they shouldn't be doing that. Those are inherently dishonest practices. right? If the banks can't pay everybody all their money back, then what's the point of having banks, right? And the people are in cognitive dissonance. They're in like Stockholm syndrome, and they just think this is okay because they love money so much that they can't even imagine another world, a world where money does not rule. But these financial institutions are dishonest, and how do they always how are they always short and they can't pay everybody back, so then a bank run causes them to collapse? But we pay more and more taxes and to the government, and the prices are higher and higher. What a bank should do is, the people that own these banks, they're pretty rich. So what happens if they can't pay it back? They just collapse. The corporation dissolves, right? The bank collapses, but that person that owns it is still a billionaire. What should happen in that case is, if you can't pay everybody back, this is a loan. They're entrusting you with their money, right? That's their money, not yours. So they should reach into their pocket and pay you back. But the people don't talk about it in that way. It might sound overly simplistic, but all it is that the people don't have respect for themselves to see how inherently ridiculous and anti-human it is. And I'm not a socialist. I'm not saying to do away with money necessarily, and no rich people, we have to spread it out to the poor. I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about personal property, and they're messing with our money, and the people believe in this system where it's a system of constant work more for less money, and they're going to keep doing their thing. And people are afraid about the banks collapsing. Let them collapse. It's built on false premises anyway, and violence. And we'll talk more about violence. We'll talk more about violence. Let's get right into that. There was a story this week about the 2 Russian fighter jets flying in international waters, of course. Not, this isn't war with Russia yet, but it is escalation, like I said in my previous episodes. Most of the things I said are coming true in a very poetic way. But anyway, these 2 Russian fighter jets, they fly close to an unmanned Reaper drone, United States surveillance, and they actually can have weapons. So it's a military vehicle, but it's a robotic one. It's an unmanned vehicle, and the Russian pilots come through and they spray this thing with fuel or whatever it was. They spray with a liquid. It's actually on camera. Like, there's a short video. And then allegedly it crashed. You could see the propeller damage. So the Reaper drone got damaged, and basically it's like when 2 kids fight, but they don't really fight, and then both of them could say, I didn't touch him, more childish behavior. Like, it was already childish as it was the rhetoric. But what's significant about the drone actually has to do with this card, so let's bring it up. These Reaper drones that they have, these unmanned vehicles, the features of their wings are shaped like an upside down star, an upside down pentagram, like this devil card has on the top of his head. That's interesting. It's the only tarot card, to my knowledge, in the major arcana for sure, that has an upside down star like this. What does that mean, the upside down star? First, let's talk about what the normal star means. The normal star means sovereignty. It means it's a human being a star, meaning someone, he's in charge of his own actions, right? The star is leg, arm, head. So the star represents a person that is free, right? A person acting on his own freedom and volition. Now, the reason the Satanists and the devil has this upside down is because it's just an inversion. They're throwing down the star. It's just like gangs would throw down the opposing gang sign. It's the same thing with this. They're throwing down our sign. The star is supposed to represent us, the individual being a sovereign individual, right? So they put the star upside down, and the Reaper drone is shaped like that on purpose. I'm gonna attach the image. This is occult symbolism, and I talk a lot about the occult in these episodes, and it's very relevant. You'll see this if you look at the front view of the Reaper drone. It's got the 2 little the fins, the little wings like this, then the normal two wings like that, and then they have the little camera. They have a part of it going downwards. Now if you look at it from the front view on images, you'll probably see the wheels, so you kind of have to ignore the wheels, or even if the wheels are folded up and it's in the air, that camera still makes the bottom. What would be the head actually is shaped like a head, but it's just upside down on that Reaper drone. And there's a reason for that, because the United States military especially is all about destroying sovereignty, destroying freedom, right? It's all based on what destroys freedom the most: violence, right? The United States military and the military in general is all about violence. That's why they make these Reaper drones in the shape of an upside down pentagram, and that's also why they have the main military building being a pentagon. And the pentagon actually is upside down. You know, if you draw a pentagon right side up and just draw the arms, you'll get an upside down pentagram. And there's a reason for that. And they call it a reaper too. What's the reaper? To reap something, you know, he is a guy with the sickle, with the scythe, reaping the grain. That is the person who is. That's why the Grim Reaper or Death, the character with the, with the scythe, that comes for the souls, the representation of death. Well, that's what they do. This is a satanic institution, an outwardly satanic institution, the United States military. And this is significant that they use these Reaper drones, and they took one down as like a sacrifice. This was an occult ritual, not just a fear ritual for people to be afraid of war with Russia. It's very significant, this upside down pentagram shape, and I have some proof to back that up. So I'm reading now. I'll probably attach this too. This is called the Faustian pentagram, also known as the sign of the cloven hoof, the footprint of the devil, the goat of Mendex, and the pentagram of Pacts. That's what this pentagram is. It's a specific pentagram, the upside down one being used in a ritual of black magic. So I'm going to quote from Manly Palmer Hall. I'm going to quote from Manly P. Hall. He wrote about this: the pentagram is used extensively in black magic, but when so used, its form always differs in one of three ways. The star may be broken at one point by not permitting the converging lines to touch it. It may be inverted by having one point down and two up, or it may be distorted by having the points of varying lengths. When used in black magic, the pentagram is called the sign of the cloven hoof or the footprint of the devil. The star with 2 points upward is also called the goat of Mendes, because the inverted star is the same shape as a goat's head. When the upright star turns and the upper point falls to the bottom, it signifies the fall of the morning star. This was written by Manly P. Hall. Manly P. Hall was later given the 33rd degree in Scottish Rite Freemasonry, who, by the way, today is his birthday. It is his birthday, March 18th. It would be his 122nd birthday. He's no longer here. But he chose to, while he did get his 33rd degree, he chose to separate from the occult in the sense that he started to teach it. He started to talk about this stuff. And that's the reason people like me can talk about it too, to get this information from out of the secrecy and darkness. And Manly P. Hall is an amazing individual who taught about the soul, talked about love, all the anything you can ask for from a researcher, tried to get human freedom accomplished. He wrote The Secret Teachings of All Ages at 27, the same age I am right now. He wrote a book that is still referred to that as having like the greatest conglomeration of ancient teachings in one book, right? He did that in 1928. So I'm quoting from somebody who knows. Just to review it, in the three ways he describes it, he describes the pentagram as being used for black magic specifically. Broken at one point. It was broken because they actually made contact, right? They actually made contact with this and they broke the propeller on it. So you already have a broken star. It may be inverted. It is inverted, so it has that too. And it is distorted by having the points of varying lengths. The 5 points of the pentagram, it is varying lengths, because the two wings are like this, and then the shorter pieces and even an even shorter bottom. So it fits all three. So that's how you know this is done intentionally. And it has the shape of the Baphomet, So how many more do you need? It's the goat's head, just as it is in this card. And this card represents slavery, which is what the United States military is all about. It's about using the violence and fear to get the people to put on their own chains, which is what this represents Adam and Eve. That's what Adam and Eve did. That's what they do in this card. They put the chains on themselves through their actions, right? Not of fear. And that's what the military is all about. So there's your occult significance of that story. Along the lines of of Russia and the war in Ukraine, I saw yesterday that Poland sent jets to the Ukraine, right? And this is important because Poland becomes the first NATO nation to actually send fighter jets to the Ukraine as like a brave action about another action in escalating the war over there, or escalating the international dynamics behind the war. The reason I wanted to mention this is just I am Polish. I have a lot of my family and Polish people are some of the people that watch these episodes. So let's talk about our country, and specifically how you could really smell it, right? You could really pick up on it, how Poland's becoming this little lapdog of the United States military system. Poland was always wanted to be part of Western Europe, and this is just how it was divided during World War II. They split it down the middle and took half the Western world. Germany took half, and then Russia took the other half, and then it became Soviet. So we never had any respect from the international community, and now Poland is basically letting itself be exploited as being this big military supporter, and still no respect. I could just see the the submissive nature of Polish people, especially those like in America, like here. You could just tell their submissive nature. Polish people, I know the wars did a number on them, and socialism did a number on them, but this is a slave culture. Poland has a lot of like the good little boy, good little girl culture, right? They really need not to be too offensive to my people, but the reason I say that, I'm gonna back this up, is they're the country in NATO that has the third highest percentage of their budget going towards defense. Only Greece and the United States are above them as far as percentage of their GDP going towards defense spending. And excuse me, the word defense, I almost have to cough to get that word out, because it's not true. It's a lie. This isn't the defense budget. This is an attack budget, right? The militaries of the world do not engage in self-defense. They engage in theft, violence, attacking of other nations, and so forth. All of them, Now, Russia being the most flagrant, being the worst right now, sure. But, 10 years ago it was the United States invading all these different countries. Then it'll be another country, and then it'll be another country. The institution of the military is what does this, right? It needs to be done away with. And Poland said that they're not going to stick with being behind Greece and the United States. They're actually going to throw more of their gross domestic product towards the military, because now they want to show, they're playing on this. We all know the Russian system's bad. We know Putin's a war criminal. We remember the Soviet occupation, right? But this is really misguided. It's not the same. What this is helping to bring in the new police state, the globalist police state that is going to be led by America on one half and China on the other half, right? That those are going to be the two superpowers that control the new. You call it the new world order, the new global authoritarian tyrannical police state where you're going to have a mix of like kind of it's going to be a more economic soft socialism, the way they have in China with the social credit system, right? And also a mix of fascism and corporatism, which they're working on over here with the banks, because they want to bring the banks to their knees. So now what they're gonna do is have the federal government basically have take over the banks, and they want to bring in their own cryptocurrency, or probably bring in Ethereum as the national cryptocurrency, and control finances that way. And then they got the world under lock and key. But Poland doesn't know that, right? They just want to sit with the master. You know, they're proud to have the leash around their neck. They have the leash around their neck too, and Poland loves this. And you see, the devil, you could think of that basically as the United States military, the wicked beast of an attack dog, the destruction that the American military has done. Crazy. I mean, almost all these nations. But Poland wants to sit at the table. They want to be part of the crew. So they're going to keep sending the fighter jets. They're buying military equipment from other nations to send it over to the Ukraine and kind of be like, am I a good boy now? Am I a good boy now? And that's what they do. Poland just wants to be a little good boy who will get patted on the head and sit at the table with the international criminals, when they should be going against this whole system. And against Russia as well. See, it's just like in World War II. We have no allies. If you're a free person, and I don't mean Polish people like nationalistically, I mean the idea of being a free, moral person. You don't have allies in the world. I'm your ally. There's a couple people, individuals are your allies. No nation and no flag, anywhere that has a flag, any organization that has even an emblem, any nation that has a paper currency, these are not your allies. They're working with your enemies, right? So, but Poland wants to actually increase their military spending, and the country's army is expected to grow to 250,000 professional soldiers and 50,000 civil defense personnel in the next few years. And I saw this, I said, civil defense, it just sounds disgusting, you know? And I looked it up, and civil defense, the history of what is known as civil defense, it started out as like, you know, if there was a nuclear attack, this is like helping people how to get to nuclear shelters, this and that. It's kind of, they compare it to the National Guard, right? But you saw what the National Guard was doing a few years ago, guarding the vaccination centers, right? So civil defense, it doesn't really have to do with defense. What it has to do is having another paramilitary force participating in domestic functions during times of national emergencies, like FEMA, right? You know FEMA over here? Yes, started out as they came in when Hurricane Katrina was there, but that's now. Don't worry about what's happening now. Like, when stuff goes down and the economy crashes, or some false flag happens, or this or that, and that time comes where the totalitarianism is going to have to come in hardcore, the handcuffs are going to come on, is when these preparations are going to be implemented, and you're going to go into hard bondage under like an emergency event of martial law or state of emergency. That's when they're going to call in the civil defense, and that's basically going to be, oh, come with me. They're just going to wave you ahead into the cattle cars. That's why when I see civil defense in Poland, it's that much more egregious to me, because I'm getting thoughts back to Auschwitz and the camps. That these civil defense guys, it's going to be the same civil defense guys who are civilly pushing the people in to get exterminated, right? That's what's going to happen. So I clicked on this, I explored it more. Who are these civil defense people? And I saw an article, and then they did an interview with the second lieutenant, Mark Zalewski. I don't know if it's Marek Zalewski. I don't know if they used the Polish keyboard, if they forgot to put him. But anyway, he's the commander of the TDF, the Territory Defense Force, I believe is the name. But that's what they're called, the TDF. You know, think of the Polish version of the U.S. National Guard or something like that. And this is what he said. I'm going to quote him from this article so I could break down what he's really saying and what this means and who these people will be used for. Regardless of their background, socioeconomic status, education level, employment, wherever they live in the city, in the suburbs, or in the back rural areas of Poland, they all love Poland. They all want to serve with the flag on the shoulder because there's no greater honor to serve one's nation. Zalewski said as the recruits conducted training drills. I mean, I just ate before this. It's amazing that I didn't throw up reading that, you know, and that's unfortunately what people think. It's so misguided, you know. Polish people do have a history that they could be proud of, but it's not the greatest honor to serve one's nation. That is such a perversion of what this country stands for. It was an honor to serve one's nation in 1939, in you know, when the invasions were going down. It was an honor to be in the underground home army, the Armia Krajowa, and you know, after World War II. That's when it was an honor to wear the flag, because if you wore the flag then, at that time, you basically were marked for death, right? Under occupation. That's not what's happening now. This is a different time, where all these people that want to help out their neighbors in the Ukraine, and Polish people are helping. They are bringing in the people who are actually running away from actual invaders, right? There are people doing defensive work in the Ukraine. I'm not one of these guys who are just, you know, I'm not going there anyway, because this is not political, and you're watching this, you already know that it has nothing to do with politics. And I'm definitely not falling in to any kind of narratives from either side, right? We're over the narratives, right? We're beyond that. We're talking about what's going on. But what I was getting at is that the people who think they're helping Poland, they're helping the new tyrannical system, the new police state that they are bringing in behind the United States military, right? So they all want to serve with the flag on the shoulder. Well, they just want to be part of the gang. They just want to be part of the crew. They just want to take a picture and put it on Instagram or something, and they want to get the approval. They want to get the clapping, you know. Just like the first responders during COVID, they just want to do the clapping. Now, people who are doing thankless work and volunteer work, and people who are helping people, they do deserve the credit. They deserve the clapping, but you can't buy that. You know, you can't buy that. You can't work for a tyrant and think you're doing something good. Even if you're working for a tyrant and you end up saving lives, if you end up helping children, you're still working for an institution that's making the money off of killing them in the first place and bringing in the state of war. Let's finish with this guy. He continued, "This makes it very easy for us to work with our partners. Whenever we deploy to a training with the United States, Canadian troops, just to name a few, one thing all soldiers have in common: they all love their country. Patriotism is the common denominator." So, first, you saw the pride of being able to mention the mighty United States government. Oh boy, they're just so excited. But one thing all soldiers have in common: they all love their country. So do the Russian soldiers in the Ukraine, right? And they're not good people at all. They're not good people. The only good people in that conflict are the people directly defending their land. And what I've said this from the beginning, what they should do is, whenever they do get rid of the invading Russians, they should turn on their own government and just go right to rebellion, because that's the only way you're going to prevent war. You're going to have to go through this obstacle, because this parasite is not going away by itself. Patriotism is the common denominator in war. But what is patriotism? It's the same thing as now with the Polish people. It's you just want to be patted on the head. You want to get the approval of your media, of your politicians. You want to tell your family, yeah, I did that and helped. What you need to do is this. But when you do this, your family doesn't pat you on the head. Your family's gonna spend about like a year or two thinking, is there something wrong with you? Thinking, are you losing it? Right? Unless you got a real good family, then you're lucky. But most people, they got tyranny in their home, let alone at their doorstep, let alone in the street. So there's that. Let's see. Do we have any more topics? No, I'll leave it there. Let me conclude with the devil card. The reason this represents slavery to me, I'm somebody that dealt with drug addiction in the past, right? And basically like a criminal lifestyle. This is, you should click on the presentation, Babyface Criminality. I'm going to talk about this more. And I recognize this right away because this is the state of being an addict, right? It's not, and this is why I knew right away that it represents slavery. And that's why I was so eager to do work like this, because I've experienced total slavery. Total slavery is you can take the chain off at any time, but you put the chain on because for whatever reason, you want to be in this state, right? And this is what the people are heading towards right now. They're sitting with the master right there, and they could leave. They could say no. They could start barking. They could cut the chain. Eve can take that fire right now that's coming from her tail, and she could burn the devil through his beard, but she doesn't. Why? Through fear. That is the reason they stay with the chains on. So if the people are staying there at the devil's foot with the chains on, who is really to blame? Is it the devil or is it them? So I'll leave you guys with that. And I'll be back next week with episode 16 of This Week in Tyranny.
You either vote for the mumps or the measles. Whether you vote for the lesser of two evils, you vote for evil. Politics and God are not equal, but the education they get on God is really lethal. People have more respect for a holy book